right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the June community update. I can't believe that it's already June. We got a lot of information that we're going to cover this morning. For those of you that haven't been here before, and we're headed into summer transitions, lots of new leadership on JBLM. We do this once a month. It's a great opportunity for me to be able to talk to you about what's going on all across the Joint Base, as well as I bring most of my directors here from the Garrison staff, the installation staff, and so it's a really good opportunity to network with them or pin them down. Can't let them leave too early right after we're done. So it's a really good opportunity afterwards. The other thing that we do is we record this. It's my favorite thing about this. They're on the internet forever. My mom hasn't figured out that they're out there, thank goodness. But in seriousness, we record it for two reasons. One, obviously you can look at it or fast forward through it and pass it to your family readiness groups, as well as we try to build these slides so that they're ready and packaged for you to use at unit level meetings as well. So, but it's summer, so there's a lot of stuff going on. It's also good weather, which has us busy with construction and things like that. So we're going to talk to you about that here today and kind of give you a heads up about what's going on. Before we do that, we like to start this forum with some recognition. And so I'm really glad to be able to, where are they hiding? Are they ready? Sergeant Major, yeah. So we're going to tell you, this is a really neat opportunity that we have to recognize some guys that did a really great, really neat project for JBLM.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Captain Kevin Brom. I'm the commander of Bravo Company 14 BEB of 22 Stryker Brigade. So who you got standing before you is my 3rd platoon, which is my horizontal construction platoon. Bravo Company is a very unique company within the BEB, as we have 1 sapper platoon, 1 route clearance platoon, and these gentlemen here are construction platoon. So they're a very diverse group, and they get missions that range from supporting counter-mobility effort in decisive action, all the way to what they did this previous winter, which is essentially logging operations or tree cutting operations. So late last fall, there was a lot of fires around JBLM, right? And one of the areas that were affected was in the vicinity of Solo Point. So there were a lot of trees that were damaged, and there was a safety hazard that was identified because of this. So they were reached out to in December timeframe, and 3rd Platoon, led by Sergeant Merchain and then Lieutenant Keenan, were identified as the team that was going to come in and clear these trees. Well, it's not a mission essential task to conduct tree cutting operations, so we had to look across the platoon and say, well, who's actually done this before and who's qualified? And it just so happens that within this platoon, there's some guys that did some tree falling and some logging operations prior to joining the Army. So naturally we said, well, this is who needs this mission. Okay. So this group here, until they were actually complete with this, there were several ranges that were shut down. I'm tracking, it was ranges 101 through 103. And this was accomplished over approximately a 45-day to 60 period. So in between ranges, field time in Yakima, other various training events, we would have to turn around and get these guys back out there again. So recovery time would be minimalized, but the mission was to get these trees cleared and then also turn them back over to DPW so we could put them in the free cutting areas for anybody that comes to cut firewood. So really unique opportunity and great training event for this platoon standing before you. So just going through who supported this event is their platoon sergeant, Sergeant First Class Merchain, our construction NCOIC from 14 BEB, which is Sergeant First Class Gaviola, Staff Sergeant Spurgeon, Sergeant Yates, Sergeant Apodaca, Sergeant Freeman, Specialist Harvey, Specialist Anglero, Specialist Silva, Specialist Jblm, Specialist Maxwell, Specialist Garcia, PFC Rodriguez, PV2 Ortiz, PV2 Mendoza, PV2 Glenn, PFC Jeffcoat, Specialist Davis, all right, with that, ma'am, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks. So thank you for doing that. And did you mention the running trail? So that's the other thing that these guys did, which was so many of you that use that solo point running trail for PT and other things, you know, that was the biggest question I got, although the real reason why you did the work was to make JBLM safe again. So, but this is the guys that are responsible for that, and they did it, and you know, it wasn't an easy task. And so I'm glad to bring you guys up here, give you coins, and say thanks for what you did. And it's a really great opportunity when the Garrison can get support from you guys to be able to do what we need to do for the units that are here on JBLM. So thanks again. No? All right, so I don't have anyone, any of our senior leadership here from the Corps, so over to the wing, Colonel Curran. Here, you got a mic.
Test, test. Good morning. Oh, come on, good morning. All right, good, excellent. It's good to see everyone. It's always a pleasure to come and update you on our airmen and our mission over here at McChord Field. Yesterday was a fantastic day for us. We were at our PAX terminal, welcoming back deployers from the Middle East, getting them back together with their families after being gone a very long time, and that's always rejuvenating and makes you understand what this is really about. June is an incredibly busy month for us here on the Air Force side. We're hopefully approaching the end of our runway closure. As most everyone is tracking, our runway here at McChord has been shut down. We've been operating out of 2 locations in California, Fairchild Air Force Base, and then most importantly, Gray Army Airfield. I want to thank the entire team over at Gray that's made that possible. We've done all our local training and launched most of our folks on missions down to the California locations right from there, and they've made it look easy. So thank you very much for that. We're very much looking forward to opening it back up. Our #1 weapon system here at McChord, which is that strip of concrete that we land and take off airplanes on. Some very big visits for us, and a chance to highlight all the great work our airmen and our soldiers do each and every day. The Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force is coming here on the 13th and 14th of June. We'll have a chance to host him. We're looking forward to that. And then quickly following that is General Mary Ann Miller. She's a 4-star Air Mobility Command commander, my boss's boss, and we're looking forward to hosting her here for 4 days. During that same time, we'll be doing one of the largest C-17 organic exercises, meaning we do it ourselves with no help from higher headquarters, basically, called Rainier War. We do that twice a year. We'll be doing that while she's here so she can see our airmen and their focus on readiness. But our hops tempo at the same time is probably the highest it's been since I've been here. And so our airmen are doing a fantastic job. We appreciate the support from the Garrison and the Joint Base. As you can see, there's a lot more Air Force attendees today, and I've challenged them to ask tough questions and get to know the directorates here afterwards and so on, because we want this to be a useful forum, and it really is. So thank you so much for hosting us. I'll turn it back over to you, Nicole.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ted Solinar, Deputy Director of Emergency Services. I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about a topic that I'm sure is near and dear to everybody's heart, and that's how you get on to JBLM. Give you some statistics to kind of give you an idea of what we work with on a daily basis here and sort of frame what some of your potential options are. Average daily population on the installation is typically estimated on a typical duty day to be around 110,000 people. We get between 56 and 60,000 vehicles entering the installation on any given day. Most of those are single occupancy, and the vast majority, as you can imagine, are entering their installation between 05:30 and 08. So yes, it does create some backlogs at the gates, and I completely understand that. I get a lot of emails and a lot of calls from folks asking how we sort of get at that issue. And the one thing that I've noticed in a lot of these conversations is maybe not a lot of full awareness of exactly what your potential options are to get onto the installation. We maintain 13 open access control points on any given duty day, and some will back up more than others. Those who use the DuPont gate northbound and those who use the Madigan gate, typically south or northbound, can attest to how backed up that gets.
And so there are other options to get on the installation. It would probably require a little bit of explanation on your part, depending on what time of the day it is. But I just want to highlight what those are to allow folks to kind of get a sense of different ways you can get on post that will reduce your frustration sitting in traffic. It may result in a little bit longer commute to get to your workplace, but that or sit in traffic, most of us will probably take the opportunity to keep moving. Next slide, please. So on the three various portions of the installation, Lewis North, Lewis Main, and McChord Field, we've got multiple access control points, 3 here on Lewis North. The times are on there. I won't go down that. Those are open, obviously, for heavy inflow. They process traffic fairly quickly. The integrity gate, interestingly enough, is the least used gate, but it is the largest gate with the highest capacity on the installation and does not require that you get too hung up on the freeway because you can get off of the freeway. That gate also has a commercial vehicle inspection point. The only reason I mention that to you is this is the time of year we get a lot of deliveries, we get a lot of trucks coming in, we get a lot of stuff being picked up. If you've got a delivery coming in, there's a commercial vehicle inspection point there where we can vet that vehicle and get it onto the installation if you're on North Fort or Lewis North. And it'll get there a little bit quicker as opposed to getting caught up in the traffic where the bulk of our commercial vehicles hit at the logistics gate. Next slide, please. Lewis Main. This is where the bulk of our 24-hour gates are. This is also where we tend to experience the most backup, understandably, because we have the highest volume of traffic. But these gates are open to help facilitate both your inflow as well as your outflow. We recognize that 110,000 people trying to leave the installation at the same time every day creates some challenges. And we've got some gates open kind of north and south of the installation onto the freeway to help allow you to get onto the freeway for those who are using it, because we all know I-5 is a fun thing to travel. So you can enter the freeway further north or further south and not get caught into that backlog that tends to happen right here within the inside of the corridor. Next slide, please. And then McChord Field, 3 gates there. For those who work on McChord Field, we know that we get a lot of traffic at the main gate. We try to process that relatively quickly, and I think we do a pretty good job. But the Woodbrook gate entering the Woodbrook housing area that is open in the mornings is actually a relatively underutilized gate. That's exit 124. That gate actually, a lot of folks started using that gate to come to the Lewis Main side and use the integrity gauge because there's not a lot of backlog at that particular gate. It is a little bit longer drive, but it allows you to get onto the installation, out of traffic, and then move quickly to wherever your workplace is or wherever you're going on the installation. So I just wanted to get that out there because I talked to a lot of folks that don't know all the various access control points we do have open on any given day. If you could help me get that word out and give folks an opportunity to kind of explore different options for themselves depending on where they work, I think this is going to help alleviate some of the traffic backlogs we've experienced at the gate. It's going to alleviate some of the safety concerns that we experience when we get stuck out on the freeway, because this will help you get off the freeway quicker. And to be honest with you, it'll probably reduce some folks' frustration because, let's face it, standing in traffic is frustrating no matter where you got to do it. So that's my last slide. Any questions for me? Yes, ma'am. On the weekends, no. So there's different times for weekends and weekdays. Just it's really based on traffic flow. So it will continue to stay. Yeah. And so that is a typo. Thank you for catching that. I apologize. That D Street gate on weekends is 8 o'clock, not the 05 that I have on the slide. Good catch. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Steve Perno, Director of Public Works. I've been asked to talk about grounds maintenance. We've got 2 4-star generals coming in this month, 1 Air Force, 1 Army, so they asked me to do this so I can set expectations. I'm not here to whine, but I'm here to set the expectations. I will not talk about housing. Lincoln cuts everybody's grass, so that should be taken care of. If you want them to cut your grass. If you don't, you put a sign out and it says maintained by resident themselves. So I'm not going to talk about that. First of all, there are comprehensive plans. There's numerous ways that we execute this. We are limited with resources, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. The first way that we do about 2,000 acres of maintenance of grounds, both here and on the ranges, both in the Garrison and the ranges itself, is within DPW workforce. I have 16 people. They're responsible for over 1,000 acres of land to cut on a regular basis. So therefore, we prioritize that. We have areas what we call high visibility. That could be the main gate, the historical areas, the Camp Lewis Cemetery, Memorial Park. Those things are done at the highest level that we're allowed to do that. The standards are inches, so 2 to 4 inches. But in the springtime, that usually takes about twice a week we have to cut it because it's springtime, it grows very fast. During the summertime, it's about once a week. Okay, we also have what we call improved grounds. 1 and 2. 1 is roadsides. We do that average once every other 2 weeks. So if you're going down a main street and you see it's dandelions are getting high, it's probably getting close to cut, but it's usually done only once every other week. Then we have improved Sec 2, which is the large fields. Fields are usually cut once right before the summer and once right after the summer, and that's all they're cut. We just can't maintain the other ones. The fourth area is ranges and airfields. Ranges, obviously, we got to keep it down to less than 4 to 10 inches in order you can see the target. You can't hit the target if you can't see the target. And as far as the 2 airfields, we're required to maintain them in between 7 and 14 inches. And those are large airfields, especially McChord Airfield. So that's the in-house. The second way we do this, next slide, is contract. And I'm going to use McChord Field as an example. There's two types of contracts. One is McChord Field. We've tried to follow the exact same standards that we do on the in-house DPW on Lewis. So there are high visibility areas here around the historic area in the main gate, and they're trying to be maintained within the contract statement the same way that we do ours. So we try to maintain exactly the same. The second, so you can see the areas. I'm not going to go there, obviously, but there is a plan is the deal. We don't have as much flexibility on this because of money and what we've been directed, what can and cannot be put in the scope of work. MCOM is getting very, very directive because they're trying to save money. More flexible on Lewis because we can work weekends, we can have service members help, and we do have what we call targeted contract, which is kind of like this on certain areas on Lewis that are new. So Pendleton Avenue, along 41st Division, those things are new features, so we've got a contract working that. We also have, to help us out, MWR. We pay MWR because we're responsible for grounds. We pay them to maintain most of their facilities on Lewis. So we're talking YTC, or we're talking CDCs, youth centers, ball fields, things that belong to MWR. We pay them to do that. It's our responsibility, but they do it for us because we don't have the manpower. Next slide. The last thing we do, and this is just Lewis, is there's a spring cleanup and a fall cleanup. This came right out of the First Corps Op Order, Annex A. This is the areas of responsibility for units. This is where they go out there and they help us twice a year to help maintain the areas. We do not do this on McChord. This is something that First Corps does specifically. So those are the four ways we do it. In-house PW, contract, we pay MWR, and then we have service members help us out. Are there any questions? It's tough. We do the best we can with the resources we have. So, yes, sir.
So, and you mentioned like I'm just going to repeat what I heard. So, I heard you say, talk about McChord. You do some things and you try to do the same as ours, which is like, is there a difference? I get you probably didn't mean to say it that way, but then you talked about MCOM, you have more flexibility on Lewis, Maine than you do over here. So does MCOM see the two sides of the installation differently, and do you have different authorities for what you can or can't do depending on whether it's McChord Field or Lewis North or Lewis, Maine?
We try to sustain JBLM under one standard. The flexibility comes on Lewis is because the Army has this program twice a year where they help us, meaning PW, to do our job. We don't have that program on McChord. Because
you mentioned MCOM. That's the part. I get this part. I get the manpower differences between the 50,000 Army guys and the 2,000 Air Force guys. But you mentioned MCOM gave you more contract flexibility at Lewis, Maine than you have over here.
No, that's not what I meant to say. The flexibility comes from the fact that service members will help us out on McChord because that's an Army program that we do on most installations. We're losing flexibility on all contracts with grounds, both McChord Field and the targeted grounds maintenance that I have on Lewis, because they're going to be a standard enterprise scope of work for ground maintenance across all the Army, which we have to follow, and they're restricting what we can do. So that's where I'm losing the flexibility on grounds maintenance contracts, both Lewis and McChord. So thanks for having me clarify that. That's not what I meant to say. Anything else? Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to give a quick shout out for the 224th U.S. Army Birthday Ball. Just so you're all aware, there are still tickets available. So if you haven't purchased yours yet, you still have an opportunity to do so. And up next is Madigan. Colonel Scott.
Good morning. I'm Colonel Susie Scott, the Deputy Commander at Madigan Army Medical Center, and on behalf of Colonel Bunt and Command Sergeant Major Ragione, I'd like to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to provide you with an update today. Next slide, please. So next week is Men's Health Week, and the purpose of this week is to really heighten awareness of preventable health problems and encourage early detection of those problems through early detection treatment of disease processes in both men and boys. So during this week, what I'd like to encourage is for you all to reach out to your primary care providers and get a status update on what treatments and prevention testing that you need to do for yourselves or for your sons or for your soldiers. And I'll show you one way to access your primary care manager here in a couple of slides. Next slide, please. So we've had some questions about the requirement for ID cards for our children. So if your children are 14 or older, there is a requirement for them to present a DoD ID card when receiving medical care to include picking up prescriptions. So parents, you can pick up prescriptions for your 14-year-old or older children on their behalf, but you do have to have their ID card with you when you do that. So this is just a friendly reminder slide. Next slide. So I mentioned a way to access your primary care providers. You can do that through the MHS Genesis portal using your DS logon, and you can either do that with your CAT card or with your DS login password on ID. We have had some recent updates to the MHS Genesis patient portal, and I have to say it is much better. We were receiving some significant complaints as we first went live with the system. They heard your issues and concerns and have made this much easier to access. I do want to point out, and it's on the slide, that you do have to have premium access to be able to access your medical records. So if you have service members or family members that are still having troubles accessing their clinical information using the portal, if you could ask them, hey, have you checked and click the button to request premium access on here? When you log onto the Genesis portal, there's a little button that makes it very easy, request premium access. Once you do that, everything should be available to you in the system. You can book appointments through the portal. You cannot yet book them with your individual provider at Madigan directly to say, I want this appointment at this time. But what you can do is click on the request appointment, other online, and there's a little prompt at the top of the screen. And then you can select the date, time that you want for an appointment, and then and who you want your appointment with, and they'll give you a call back or send you a secure message to confirm that appointment with you. So that is available online. We don't yet have the ability, like Bremerton, Oak Harbor, or Fairchild do, to actually click it online, but they're working on getting us there at some point here in the near future. So for those of you that are getting ready to transition off the installation, unfortunately, I want to remind you that you have to go back to using Relay Health and TRICARE Online. So if you're PCSing here to the East Coast and going back to an installation that uses Alta and Accentris, please remember that you've got to go back to the TRICARE Online Relay Health. Your information that has been housed in MHS Genesis, all that clinical information is available to your providers at your gaining installation using the Joint Legacy Viewer. So nothing will be lost in the system. All of your data is still accessible to your providers. No need to have that hard copy record going with you. It is all available electronically still going forward. So next slide, please. In order to help serve our service members better, from a behavioral health perspective, we have consolidated the resources in the Denali and Yukon clinics over in the Madigan Annex. So this is now one large embedded behavioral health clinic that services both appointments and walk-ins in the clinic, and it's known as the Readiness Clinic. So there's still 2 access points on here. And then you can see the locations for how you get in to see a provider. And then if you or your service members have any questions about it, the point of contact is Ms. Amy St. Luce, and her number is at the bottom of this slide, so you have access to that. But this should actually help streamline services and get more folks in quicker into those clinic appointments. So, next slide. So it's never too early to talk back to school. Don't tell your kids that I said that. Please don't tell my kids that I said that. But we want to go ahead and start focusing now on back to school physicals for your kids. We have available appointments in our pediatrics clinics. And then while school is still in session, for those who have kids that are enrolled in our school-based health clinics, they can do school-based or back-to-school physicals right there this year in our school-based health clinics. Happy to give you the hours for those clinics if you so desire. To remind you where we've got schools, we've got them in Bethel High School, clinic in Bethel Middle School, Harrison Prep, Lakes High School, Mann Middle School, Pioneer Middle School, River Ridge High School, Rogers, Steelicum High School, and Woodbrook Middle School. So the days and times of availability of those clinics varies based on the school, but certainly at least a half a day a week in each of those schools to be able to get your kids access on that. Next slide. This is just a reminder, we talked about this last month. We have expanded our access to you for convenience for refills. If you live down in Lacey or up in the Puyallup area, no need to get your refills done here at the Madigan hospital. You can actually request your refills at the pharmacy closest to home in either Puyallup or South Sound community-based medical homes. And that's available to anybody, service members or family members that want to do that. So, next slide. I got to give a shout out to my Medical Service Corps brothers and sisters. The 30th of June marks their anniversary, and we'll be doing some celebration at Madigan. So if you've got Medical Service Corps personnel in your units, please let us know. Welcome them to come over to Madigan, and they can celebrate with us there. Coming forward. Next slide. And then last slide, just as a reminder and follow-up, we are available and accessible to you in multiple media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, all online to help serve you better. So, thanks. Thought I was getting away with that question. Sorry.
That's okay. So glad to see that there's online appointments. My question, we never see stats on it, but I know my own personal experience. My wife gets an antidepressant, and every time she has to get that prescription renewed, she can't get an appointment within 30 days. We end up pursuing an emergency fill until 45 days later we can finally get to see the provider. So do you guys track a stat on the time from the time a person requests an appointment to the time they actually see a provider? And are you tracking that, and do we know if that's going to get better? Because I know your patient workload and stuff, there's a bunch of issues there. But if it's not watched, it's not worked. And will the online thing, will it forecast out appointment availability beyond the current month?
So with the requesting for the online appointment, it allows you to go in and select when your preference is for the appointment. It does not tell you what appointments are available in the future. We do track appointment availability on a weekly basis to see how far out we've got appointments available for booking. This week, we were looking in the aggregate in both the specialty and primary care clinics about 5.5 weeks out availability. I mean, we've got appointments available from now until the 5.5 week out that are open and available for booking. We don't have the same fidelity of data yet in MHS Genesis like we did in Alta to be able to say how many appointments do I have left today, but we can get a good measure of if we're having to, of how far out we're having to book and what's by but I don't have the granular data on if you book an appointment, if you ask for appointment a day, how far out would it take for me to get you there? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's just my, I mean, I'm a colonel, and we've been doing this game a long time. So,
yeah.
So if my wife has trouble getting an antidepressant, that's a concern to me. It has been.
Yeah.
And so I'm concerned that folks who need that kind of medication, 5.5 weeks is beyond the time the refill runs out. And so then what happens with them? You know, I see it in my family, so I worry about my airmen and the other folks around the base who depend on that. You know, the consistency of the medication is a big deal. And so I'm just worried about that and just want to make sure y'all are tracking it. And anything you can do to help that kind of issue where consistency in medication is a critical part of their care, that would be really appreciated.
We are tracking that, and what I owe you for next month is an update on options for availability to be able to make requests like that. You know, what can you do online and how do you do it to be able to communicate with your provider, and we'll show you some screenshots on those options. And then what can we do for refills to be able to work those? And then I'll see what data I can get you from an appointment access availability, and we'll show that to you online to give you a picture of what I'm tracking internally, if that would be helpful.
Sure, thank you.
Awesome, thanks. Now I'm off the hook.
Okay, I'm Alicia Grady, Director of Personnel and Family Readiness, and just a reminder, we always include the calendar. Lots of big things coming up in June, of course with the Army birthday, and we have the birthday ball, we have the Corps Run, lots of activities going on, the Golf Scramble, and then July Freedom Fest is coming up, and I know Kelly from MWR is going to highlight a bunch of the, as Buck says, the Ministry of Fun. We don't want to leave that out. And I neglected to mention at the beginning that the slides are posted on the JBLM main page and on the MWR website, so those will be available by the end of today, if not first thing tomorrow morning, that you can pull these slides so you don't have to write all this down. Just a reminder of all the classes that we provide through family advocacy. School's going to be out here in a couple weeks, so just as a reminder, we have a lot of play groups, a lot of classes for parents and children, a lot of activities that you can do and access, and we do those throughout the entire Joint Base. And as a reminder, anything that we do in our directorate, we will come to you. So if you have something specific that you want in your area, please let us know, and we will make that happen and come to you to do that. Here's some more things that we have with classes. Mindfulness parenting, 5 love languages for children, 24/7 dad. So lots of offerings that we have for you for parents and children. And then I want to highlight here a change that we have for our family readiness groups. There has been a change. A DA directive came down that changes this now to Soldier and Family Readiness Group. It is for the Army. And so there are some changes that give commanders a little more flexibility in how they do fundraising for their FRGs. And I have my folks here, Pam is over there in the back. So if you have any questions on this, because I know there's been information kind of coming in dribs and drabs, we are waiting on official op order from both FORCECOM and IMCOM on how we further implement these changes, and we're going out there to get the training done to your family readiness group so they understand what the changes are in terms of fundraising. But Pam is in the back and can answer questions today if you have something specific. And then as a reminder, we always also do key spouse training. The dates and times and the programs are listed here as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Beth.
Good morning, Beth Ellis, your friendly, community-ready, and resilient integrator for the installation. As usual, I'm here to remind you about healthy stuff. So our next round of recipe testing going on at our DFACs is going to be starting June 25th and running through the 1st. So I just want to remind everybody to please get out and participate, and we want your feedback on these recipes. As you can see, we've got quite an ambitious roster here of over 20 recipes that we want to test and get your feedback on. So are there any questions about that? Yes. Unfortunately, we did not get participation in this, for this round, but they're welcome if they want to come on board. There's a little bit of a challenge working with the 2 different recipe systems. So as I understand it, the Air Force has a standardized menu that's cycled through. And so what we are able to do is we actually have been taking some of the recipes that come out of the Air Force system to test in our DFACs. but it doesn't work the other way for them to test Army recipes, but we try. Any other questions? Okay, I think I have one more. So wearing my other hat now, I volunteer with AUSA, and the golf tournament is coming up on the 28th, and there's still slots for folks if they want to participate in the golf tournament. There are discounts for specialists and below, as well as AUSA members, so just want to put the word out there. If there are any questions, Carol Dixon is our lead for this, and I can get you his phone number and contact information after this if there are questions for registration and sign up. Anything else for me? All right, well, easy crowd. I will be followed by Miss Kathy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy with the Directorate of Public Works Sustainability Outreach Coordinator. On your tables, you'll see our little handout talking about water use. I just want to make sure everybody's paying attention. We're about heading into the summer here. So basically, irrigate between the hours of 7 and 10 a.m. and 6 and 9 p.m. There are no restrictions at this time. Just make sure you take your car to a commercial car wash, and we only want rain down the drain here on JBLM. Next slide, please. Time for that backyard barbecue, sitting out there with the fire pit. Just make sure you're not burning any yard waste or garbage. There is no open burning on JBLM. We no longer have the shred facility as an option, so make sure you're taking advantage of those opportunities to shred at community events. So you can check out if you're living in Pierce County Solid Waste has a list of commercial opportunities for shred, and only burn clean, dry wood, and make sure you're following the housing restrictions of making it 15 to 20 feet away from your house, and don't leave your lighter fluid and all that stuff laying around on the grass. Bad for everything. Okay, next slide, please. Go Lewis McChord is a free transportation program here on JBLM. It's a shuttle that runs every 20 minutes. It runs from 7 in the morning till 6 in the afternoon. It runs on weekends from 10 till 6, and it runs all over base. And it can get you outside the gates to DuPont. So keep that in mind. There are bike shares. There's 2 here on McChord, 3 on the Lewis side. Check out Adventures Unlimited, 373rd, Northwest Adventure Center, Reception, and one other one that slipped my mind right now. Anyway, and there's bikes you can check out for up to 14 days, dependents, as long as they're 18 and above. Anybody can ride. All right, and we absolutely support mission readiness, so make sure you're not sending 2 people to those appointments at Madigan. Just put the new person on the bus and tell them to go find it, right? GoLewisMcChord.com. It's got the shuttle times. And we do have van pools, car pools, lots of incentives if you're living off base and you want to hook up with that. Any questions for me? No? Okay, one last thing. JBLM started its prescribed burning right now. So on your tables, again, you've got information on what's burning. I just want to make sure you're aware of that because we're going to start seeing stuff, smoke above JBLM, and make sure you're aware. We do prescribed burns. Those are heavily watched, regulated. We're paying attention. Sometimes that the fires down in the artillery impact area set the grounds alight, and we can't get in there to put those out. Those are wildfires, so those are different. If you want to track what's going on, make sure you track our Sustainable JBLM Facebook page. We post all the burns. All right, thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Beth Wilson. I work for the Director of Public Works, and I'm the housing manager here. So what I'd like to talk about is last week on Friday, Lincoln deployed an application for your phones for the folks that live in housing. Everybody that lives in housing should have received an email from them telling them about this new application. If you haven't received it, if you go to their website, there is instructions on how to download it and how to access it and submit a work order. Unfortunately, right now, this application will only be able to take routine job orders only. If you have an urgent or emergency, you still need to use those 2 telephone numbers up there to call. However, after 24 hours of it being called in, you will be able to access it and see the status of it on the application. That way, residents will be able to track a history of all their work orders that they call in. Next slide. So the next thing I want to talk about some renovation and construction that we are currently doing and is scheduled for later on this year. So in Westcott, we've already began to do the privacy fence, and those will be, it's projected to be completed in September. So our Heartwood 3, we already have a renovation prototype that's right now underway. We are expecting it to be completed in September, and once it's done, the government side will walk through the prototype and ensure that it has all the amenities and the upgrades that we've requested. If it meets the standards that we've asked, then Lincoln will begin to renovate over a 2-year period the rest of all the units that are in Heartwood 3. At this point, we don't know which units are going to be first to renovate, but obviously it will be the ones where people PCS out. There's more to come on that. We just have to get through the prototype first and make sure it meets all the requirements that we want. Over on Broadmoor, those 2 duplexes that we have listed up there, there's siding that will begin in August for those garages. In the bricks, we've already began to do the replacing of the roofs in the garage, and those will end in August, I believe. And so Beechwood South, we will start to do the sheds and the ramps. They'll be replaced or repaired. And in Madigan, we've already started converting the carports into garages. All the work will be done Monday through Friday, 8 to 1700. And if you have a project that hasn't started yet, you will get a letter shortly from Lincoln telling you what to expect during this time frame for the projects. Next slide. So the last thing I want to talk about is the results, the initial results that we've received from the headquarter DA survey that went out. The box to the right really kind of reflects the different neighborhoods and the number of surveys that were turned in. The pie chart, as you can see, 29% of people replied to the survey. At the very bottom is the overall, just the top 5 that we were able to access at this point. They're still putting the results together. But the way the ranking works is 80 to 84% is considered very good, and 85 and above is considered outstanding. So as you can see, Lincoln is, for those 5 issues, are doing very good or outstanding. The final report takes another couple months for the contractor to provide it to us. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Ma'am, I think the app's also available on like Apple iStore. I found it. Is that the right one? Lincoln Military Resident Yardy Systems?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. In a meeting with my first sergeants this week, they told me that an Air Force member in Lincoln Housing had received a utility bill. I know there was the message that those were turned off. Can we give an update on that?
Okay, so, excuse me. Those are mock billings that are being sent out. Several months ago when the decision from the Department of Army came out to stop utility payments for all residents, there was information that was sent out to all the residents. So if somebody didn't get that and doesn't understand what's going on, we would ask them to please either contact Lincoln or the housing office. But the residents are still going to receive that mock billing. That's just something that is required to be sent out. It doesn't mean anything. They don't pay anything, nothing. They're not going to get any kind of rebates. It's part of what the requirement is at this point for residents to receive.
Well, and the other thing I'll say is we still want residents to know what is going on with their utilities and energy, because what we just talked about in terms of conservation for the installation. So it's still important as a resident to be cognizant of what's going on, but that is a mock bill. And chains of command, you guys can help educate our residents, especially our young ones, that this might be their first home they've ever lived in. So you can help us with that, but they can always contact the district, their housing manager. We'll walk them, Lincoln will walk them through it as well. But it's there so they understand what's going on in their house. It is not a bill they need to pay.
Well, so Nicole, is there a timeline when the mock bills turn into real bills? Because they used to be real bills, right? Is this a permanent change where we're just going to track that and the usage and so on, or do you have any idea?
So I don't, I'm hesitant to say permanent, but this is definitely an Army and DOD-wide decision that says residential housing partners are not to be charging for the utilities. So this is at least for right now, in the near term, this is what it is. I can't tell you that this will in perpetuity be what's happened, but our understanding is that this is a decision that's going to stay for the foreseeable future. I don't expect that this will get flipped back to residents paying in the near future.
Good morning, everybody. Kelly Wetzel with MWR. So I'm going to start off with the top left-hand side of that slide. This is a reminder for squadron commanders, unit commanders, that we're only halfway through the sports year. So if you would like to field a team for any kind of sport that we've got running, these are the meeting dates and the times that you can turn out all the way through December. When you look at it online, you can blow it up to however big you need to look at it to find out what you want to field as far as a team goes. This Saturday, the UFC fights on base are free. In fact, in the pub here, it is free for you to come and watch the fight. You can also go to the Warrior Zone and watch it for free, or you can head to Sam Adams and watch it there. It's supposed to be a good fight this time. You don't have to ever buy it pay-per-view at home. You can come here and watch it for nothing. We have an MWR job fair coming up on the 11th of June at Eagles Pride. That way that folks who live off base, who may not have the ability to come on base, can still apply for jobs that way. So they can head out on the 11th to Eagles Pride. On the bottom, the summer reading program. This is great if you've got children at home, all the way from pre-readers. So if you're reading to your child, the time that you spend reading to them still counts for them, so they can still enter to win prizes. All the way through adults. We have reading programs for adults for the summer, just to encourage folks on when you've got some downtime, pick up a book. You can read online, you can read on your Kindle, it all counts. We have an aquatics hiring fair the 14th and the 28th of June. If you've got somebody in your family who would like to be a lifeguard or a swim instructor, we've got openings for those. Right under that, the Classy Chassis. This is a huge part of our Freedom Fest celebration. Freedom Fest is July 4th, on base, open to the public. It is free admission. Come out and ride the rides, eat the food, watch the entertainment. We've got some great things going on, but the car show is a big part of it. We open up the entire field if you have a classic car, and there are a whole bunch of different categories. If you would like to show off your car, the 16th of June is the deadline to register your car, so that's why we've got it on the June calendar. The bodybuilding competition is coming up on the 22nd of June, and then we've got a wine and canvas on the 28th. Next slide, please. So this is our Freedom Fest advertisement. Big entertainment. Montgomery Gentry is coming on base and will be our entertainment for Freedom Fest. I encourage you to get there early if you'd like a seat. I also encourage you to get there early if you want to watch the fireworks show from a great vantage point. We have folks who start camping out with their beach towels and their backpacks and their picnic stuff right about noon when we open up, and they stay there. You'll notice that it's being light later and later every night. It'll be 10 o'clock before we start those fireworks because it is late. It's light until 10 o'clock here. So it's a long day, but it's a lot of fun, lots of things for the family to do. Next slide. And then finally a rundown of things that are happening. So you'll notice I'm not going to go through everything, but I've highlighted a couple of things in green. I get a lot of questions about Seahawks tickets and when you can get them, when you can sign up to go and register. So here are the dates, the 20th of July through the 2nd of August. Those are the dates that you can go to either of the Leisure Travel Services offices on base. They are located inside the bowling centers. You go in there with your ID card, and you register for the opportunity to purchase Seahawks tickets. The MWR, we are season ticket holders. So we have roughly 150 season tickets for every game. That means your chances are pretty good for getting tickets to see the games. It's also a lot less expensive as a season ticket holder to get those tickets on base as opposed to going through some place like Ticketmaster or StubHub where anything goes. So once you've gone in to register and your name is in the hat, then if you see down August 3rd, that's the day they draw names. First name out gets first choice of tickets. Second name out gets second choice of tickets. You pick the games you want to see. If you've got your hometown favorite who's going to come and beat the Seahawks, then you get those tickets. So that's how you get Seahawks tickets at JBLM. The rest of the calendar is online. If you want more information about these activities, go to our website, jblmmwr.com. We'll redirect you to our new website. Does anybody have any questions? Thanks. Oh. I don't have any information about Sounders tickets. We do at Leisure Travel Services occasionally get game tickets that are offered to us, and when we do get the tickets, they're offered through either our Facebook page or you'll see a notification on our website on jblmmwr.com. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sergeant Lim. I am your boss president for the JBLM installation. I'd like to talk to you guys about the community service that we've done in the month of May. As you can see, we had a full schedule. We helped out at the mud run. We saw a bunch of you guys there. We were the ones cheering you guys on and making sure you didn't get lost and making sure that you didn't fall into the mud pit and we never saw you again, although that was mostly for the kids because they are kind of small. We also do our every monthly volunteer events, which is with Suits for Service members, an organization that gives 2 free suits to any service member that is leaving the service. So anyone in the crowd here who knows coworkers, someone who will be leaving, they can always swing by the Hawk Transitional place out in Norfolk and get their free suits, get shirts, shoes, ties, pants, men and women's selections as well. And we're just there to make sure that all their donated suits get organized so that when you do go there, you'll be able to get your size and get the right size and the right look for you. We also go to the Washington Transitional Home, which is up in Port Orchard. They love seeing us going up there. All the veterans there love seeing all the young airmen and soldiers helping out. Last time, we actually helped wax their floors. We picked up all their physical equipment, moved it out, waxed the floor, and they said it looks amazing. And we're hoping that this month, when we go up there again, we'll have some new faces, so they'll get to see more and more service members from JBLM helping them out. We also did Armed Forces Day. You may have seen our booth there. We were cooking a lot of food and serving out to everyone. All this money that we made goes into all our events that we do out here, which is mainly free to our single service members. And that's something that we at BOSS love doing. And we also did the Memorial Grove cleanup. So actually, if you exit out of this building out that door, you will see a Memorial Grove for the POWMIA that is located here, and they have pillars, they have the flags, they have these stones that you can buy and etch your name or say something on there. It's a beautiful site, and we went out there with the PGMS organization to help make sure everything looks beautiful for Memorial Day. Next slide, please. And so what we did for Rec and Leisure, we hosted our first scuba diving class. It gives the single service members a 60-foot certification for life. We had about 6 individuals. We had a little bit more space, but again, this is a scuba certification, so there are some prerequisites. We're hoping to do one again in August and get more individuals signed up. And then we also went on a hike to Rattlesnake, where we just took a bunch of people, we went up there, had some fun. These are just our free events that we just love doing with everyone. Next slide, please. And June, so 2 big things that we are doing in June is horseback riding, where you're gonna have a class portion and then an hour of easy riding. So if you know people who've never seen a horse before, never touched a horse, and they would wanna go on this trip, have them come by, we'll sign them up for it, and we'll see if we can get them onto this horse riding. And then we're also doing cave spelunking. It's a 2-day trip. We're going down to St. Helens. We're gonna camp out the night by the lake, cook something by the fire, and explore 2 miles of volcanic cave. And you can't really see in the picture, but it is a really big space, and it's cold there as well. So we advise anyone who does come to bring a change of clothes in case they either get too cold or too hot. Are there any questions for me? All right, well, thank you for your time.
Good morning, I'm Chaplain Brandt, the Garrison Chaplain. We've got a couple of events coming up in June to make you aware of. The first one, there is a change in our liturgical service. They're moving from Soldiers Chapel and moving over to 4 Chaplains Memorial Chapel. That's on the corner of Jackson Avenue and Transmission Avenue. And this will be their kickoff service, and they're starting on Sunday evenings, and every service is going to begin with a fellowship dinner on Sunday evening, 1700. So anybody's welcome to participate in that service. Also on Father's Day, coming up next weekend, in case anybody isn't tracking yet, but next weekend is Father's Day. The Knights of Columbus from our Catholic parish are hosting a Father's Day pancake breakfast, and anybody's invited. There's going to be a pancake breakfast, and it'll last from 10 to 12:30, but if you go to the 9 o'clock Mass, it'll be right after that. You can start there, or if you're at the 10:30 Protestant service, and this is all at the main post chapel on Father's Day. Next slide, please. For your information, we will not be doing traditional Vacation Bible School this year. We're going to be doing a couple of different alternatives, and we're kind of excited about the first one. Black Diamond Adventure Camp is up in Auburn, and we're going to be partnering with them to offer week-long day camps. First 2 weeks in July, second and third week in August are what we're looking at. We'll provide some bus transportation with line-of-sight supervision to ensure the safety of the kids, and we'll go up and have a day camp, and they're hosting the program for us. So exciting opportunity. It'll be a very minimal cost. We'll let you know all about that. They're offering military 75% discounts. If civilians would go up there, $235 for a week. 75% of that for our folks. Significant discount for that. So if you're interested, we're going to be posting all the details within the next week or two on our JBLM Facebook page and on our RSO Facebook page. If you want to talk to somebody about the details before that, you can contact our Director of Religious Education, Mr. Jim Freitag, and his phone number is 966-7396. Also, we're going to be doing out of our worship communities, Passport to Spiritual Adventures. And again, this is going to be not just 1 week, but there's going to be 4 separate weeks, weekends, and it'll be just a day kind of adventure for the kids, along with families. We're looking at building family resiliency within our worshiping community, so we're wanting to include the families. So it'll be once a week for 4 different weeks at different congregations. So our families will be introduced to different worshiping communities across JBLM. So that's another program we're hosting. And there will also be select congregations will host child evangelism 5-day clubs. And again, all those details will be forthcoming in the next couple of weeks. Any questions for me? If not, thank you. Have a great day.
Good morning. Mike Cruz from McChord Commissary. We're coming up on our Healthy Lifestyle Festival this is Fort Lewis. It'll be June 13th to the 16th. Their main warehouse will be the dry products, and outside will be the produce. Next slide. And at the McChord, our festival is June 27th to the 29th. Again, the same. The dry portion will be on the inside, and all the fruits and vegetables will be on the outside. Any questions? Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Mike Einer. I'm the general manager for the exchange here on JBLM. First slide just has some upcoming events. I'm not going to go through them. The call out on this slide is the new store that opened at Lewis North, the U.S. Patriots Tactical Store. It is in the previous location of the 5-Star Nutrition Store that closed down. Next slide, please. In celebration of the Army's birthday, there's a couple of promotions we're doing across the exchange. It's both installations. The call outs here are, low impact, but if you use your MillStar to purchase any food at our restaurant, you save 15% automatically, and that would be a good day to fill up your gas tanks also, because instead of saving 5 cents a gallon, you'll save 10 cents a gallon. Next slide, please. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So every year when our financial statements close, the exchange does not retain any money other than to support facilities and infrastructure. All of our earnings go back to the military. And this is the amount of earnings that came back to JBLM for 2018, which is just over $4.1 million that is contributed to the MWR fund. So we just wanted to present this check to make sure everybody's aware of where our earnings go to, but it's back to the troops.
Yep. So these, yeah. Did we got a picture? All right, good. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah. And this is one of the big benefits of having a big installation, and this benefits everybody on JBLM. So I really appreciate you taking the time to present it today. And you know, and this is something, you know, we count on, but we also are really grateful for the partnership with AAFES and the benefit to the installation that comes back to us. So thanks.
Thank you.
I'm going to put this in my car.
There you go. Don't try to cash it at the exchange, please. Okay, the final slide here is the construction over at the main shopping center at Lewis. I apologize for the parking and all the struggles we're going to go through, but I promise you when we get done, it'll be worth it. Currently, there is an entrance to the parking lot that is over on the south side across from the commissary. On June 10th, that entrance to the parking lot will be closed. And the one up on Nevada, on the north side of the exchange, which is closed right now, will be open to maintain 2 entry and exit points for the parking lot. It should stay that way for several months until we actually get that south side of the building completed, at which time we'll probably be opening the Class 6 and the Class 6 and the military clothing store on that south side. So those 2 entrances off of 41st and the one off Nevada should be in place for a while. That's all I have. Are there any questions for me? I guess I got one recall. I've been asked about some dates for the, thank you, for what's happening there. On the south side, we should be opening the military clothing and the Class 6 in this building somewhere around the November timeframe, at which time the locations in the mini mall will close. And then the south side of what will be the new concession mall should be turned over to us, and we should be opening that at the end of November, December timeframe. The call out there is a Starbucks will be on that corner. And then the north side of the mall, which will include the food court, should be opening around the end of January. And then September 2020 is when the main store should be pumped out into the mall, and it should be completely done around the September 2020 timeframe. That's all I got. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nicole Von Banken, and I am the first VP for Spouses Club. We just started our new board year, which started on June 1st. So if you were members before, you need to re-enroll to become members for this board year. Events we have coming up, we still have 4 spots open for our June summer social. If you want to register for that, you can do that online. And you can also see the rest of our upcoming events. The big one being Super Sign Up on August 24th. That one will go through what the Spouses Club does, and we'll have all of our sub-club information out there. It's a big time where a lot of people will sign up to become members. They've been briefing about the Army Ball coming up. So Operation Deploy Your Dress is something that Spouses Club does. And they have 3 dates open in June. 2 are before the ball. Those dates are Saturday, June 8th from 9 to 11 a.m., Wednesday, June 12th from 5 to 7 p.m., and then one after the ball, which is June 17th from 10 to 12. And that is all I have.
Good morning. I'm Sergeant Major Bagg. I'm the Vice President of the the Sergeants Major Association here on JBLM, and I just wanted to bring up our upcoming Northwest annual charity golf tournament. It's open to everybody, anyone can attend this, and we have prizes for first through third place, the longest drive, and the closest to the pin. We also have a raffle going on, giving away a lot of great prizes. As a nonprofit organization, we generate our funds mainly through this event every year. So any kind of support that you can provide, please get the word out. And if you can't attend the AUSA tournament, you're more than welcome at ours. Thank you.
Whew. All right, so I told you it was a lot of stuff. And so thanks for all our presenters. I appreciate you being here this morning. Our next community update is on the 10th of July, and we'll do that one over at Nelson Rec. We flip-flop them between these two locations month to month. So a couple of things I just want to close with. So we talked about the Army Ball. That's great. That's the evening of the 14th. What you really need to know if you transit the installation is that the Corps and most of the Army will do a run that morning. We will open CDCs early, so commanders and leaders, if you're worried about your service members being able to get their kids in and make the ridiculously early formation or bus ride, the CDCs will be open early. We will also open the gates at 04 that morning as well to try to accommodate what's going to happen there. But just be aware if you're on the installation, especially on the JBLM main side of the installation, that is going on that morning, and it is pretty time consuming. We're also doing a golf scramble that day for the Army birthday, and I'd love to see as many of you come out for that, and I'll use that as a segue. So as we get into summer and as we get into transition, there's lots of hails and farewells and welcomes and all that. Please use my MWR facilities. I realize that I also have to deliver you good service when I do that, and I'm committed to that, and I will take your feedback when I'm not doing that, but please keep the facilities on the installation in mind. And I'll share you the insider baseball, which is if we don't use them, we will lose them. So it doesn't mean that you are entitled to not being treated well or not being accommodated, so we need your feedback, any way you'll give it to me. But please keep that in mind as you think about where you're doing your events. So bowling, golf, and all of the food and beverage facilities. Please keep those in mind for your unit events. And then remember to let me know if you have feedback, hey, I couldn't get it scheduled, or they couldn't accommodate me, or whatever, because we will change those as soon, those things that I can correct, that is my commitment to you. And at the end of the day, the environment that I am in terms of installation management, that is that if we don't use them here on JBLM, we won't have them on JBLM forever. So please just keep that in mind. And the two things. One, housing remains a priority for the DoD. It hasn't gone away here on JBLM. Our housing town hall is the 26th of June. We'll start the messaging for that so we get that out to our residents. We'll do the next one of those. My intent with that town hall is to be able to deliver kind of a, hey, here's what we heard from you, here's what we learned during the housing assessment, and here's what we have done, and here's what we continue to do. So we, again, remain focused on improving housing where we need to and delivering the housing that our service members are entitled to here on JBLM. For chains of command that are here, your role remains super critical in this. I would say every single day, the command sergeant major and I talk about a particular resident in housing who is struggling with some kind of issue. And your role in terms of assisting that resident with what they need to do to get their issue addressed, as well as coming direct to he and I when you need to, is really, really important to making sure that our word is demonstrated in our action in terms of what we intend to do with housing here on JBLM. So thank you for that, and please know that we have not forgotten about how important it is that we do what we need to do with housing. And lastly, Percy, can you come up here for a minute? So Colonel Percival has been my deputy as well as the Air Base Group Commander here on JBLM for 2 years. This is his last community update. The big smile on his face, probably. And because it's your last one, we'll do a whole bunch of farewells, and we're going to make you work really hard until you're done anyways. So this isn't this doesn't mean you're finished, but I did want to, in front of this group, make sure I took an opportunity to say that I could not have asked for a better deputy commander, and really thank you for what you've done for JBLM while you're here.
Thank you.
Thanks. And with that, I will ask if there's any questions. Again, remember, the team is here to answer your questions. We got some folks here in the back that will, if you got one-on-one that you need, I'll stick around as well. Thank you all for being here, and have a great month.